In a small town in Batangas, where nights were lit more by stars than by streetlights, a boy named Rafael Villanueva grew up staring at the sky. While other kids played basketball under the orange glow of the barangay court lights, Raf lay on the grass beside their cubo, tracing constellations with his finger. "Ma," he asked one night, "do you think someone like me could ever go up there?" His mother laughed softly, brushing his hair. "Back at Hindi, the stars don't have visas, Anik. They shine on everyone." But as Raf grew older, he learned something harsh. The world did have visas, and walls, and silent biases that could crush even the brightest dreams. Raf was a genius in numbers. By the age of 12, he was solving equations his high school teachers struggled with. At 15, he designed a homemade telescope from scrap lenses and PVC pipes, powerful enough to see the rings of Saturn on a clear night. His father, a fisherman, would come home late, see his son still awake with notebooks scattered round, and shake his head. "Anna, kahit anong talino mo, mahirap yang pangarap." That's an American dream. Raf smiled. Then one day, a Filipino will make it. Back at Hindi Oku, he earned a scholarship to a university in Manila, studying physics and aerospace engineering. While classmates dreamed of Silicon Valley and high salaries, Raf had a singular goal: NASA. He memorized every Apollo mission. He studied the failures of early rockets, the triumphs of Mars rovers, the complex dance of orbital mechanics. He sent his first application to NASA's internship program as soon as he was eligible. The reply came months later: "We regret to inform you." He tried again the next year, with better grades, published research, and glowing recommendations. Again, "We regret to inform you." The third time, he added even more: a thesis on low-cost propulsion for small satellites, participation in an international space design competition, volunteer work teaching kids astronomy in public schools. The third rejection hurt most not because of the no, but because of a single line he overheard in a leaked email between two reviewers. Screenshotted and sent to him anonymously. "He's from the Philippines. Limited infrastructure and support. Not competitive enough for our pipeline. Not competitive enough." Those words carved into him like a blade. It wasn't his grades. It wasn't his work. It was where he came from. To them, Filipino meant not ready, not serious, not on the level. For a week, Raf wanted to give up. He skipped classes, lay in bed, and stared at the same ceiling he'd once imagined as the roof of a spaceship. His mother sat beside him quietly. "Anik," she said finally, "you wanted to reach the stars. Did you think the stars would come closer just because you're tired? No. You get up. You build a taller ladder." Raf wiped his eyes. "Ma, they don't want us. They don't see Filipinos in space. Then don't beg to sit at their table," she had said. "Build your own." Those words rewired something in his mind. If NASA would take him because he was Filipino, then he would create something so undeniable that even NASA would have to knock on his door. He started small, using a tiny grant and donated parts. He led a university team that built the Philippines' first student-designed CubeSat, a small satellite no bigger than a showbox. They launched it via a foreign rocket ride-share program. The little satellite snapped images of Philippine coastlines, detected illegal fishing lights at night, and sent down simple atmospheric data. It wasn't glamorous, but it was theirs. Then Raf did something bolder. He turned down job offers abroad to come home to Batangas and help start the Philippine Deep Space Initiative, a fictional but visionary agency, supported by a coalition of local universities, private companies, and a handful of crazy believers in government who said, "Sage, let's try." People laughed. Space saw Filipinos. Walo enga teo maos notren. Marspa talk shows joked about Pinoy astronauts in Sinlers. Memes circulated of jeepneys in space. But Raf persisted. He poured his frustration into research. He focused on something NASA and other agencies struggle with: how to send small, affordable missions deep into space using minimal fuel. He built on one idea: gravity assist plus solar saving. Instead of giant rockets, his concept used compact craft that would slingshot round Earth, then the moon, then ride photon pressure from sunlight like a sailboat catching wind. Most agencies saw solar sails as experimental, too uncertain for critical missions. Rav saw them as a poor country's ticket to the stars. He developed a new way to fold ultra-thin reflective sails into microsatellites, using patterns inspired by bannock weaving and origami. The result: a sail that could deploy perfectly in space with minimal mechanical complexity, fewer moving parts, lower risk, lower cost. They called their test craft Katipunan 1, in honor of Filipinos who dared to rebel against impossibilities. When Katipunan 1 launched as a secondary payload on a foreign rocket, few took it seriously. But weeks later, as missed, expensive probes from other nations struggled with minor orbit corrections and fuel usage. Katipunan 1 unfurled its sail flawlessly. It drifted into a slingshot orbit so elegant that orbital dynamics experts blinked at the numbers. The trajectory Raf designed shaved months of travel time and saved significant fuel. Suddenly, people notice. Journals wrote about the Filipino maneuver. A popular science channel did a feature: how a tiny Philippine satellite just changed deep space. Navigation still. NASA remained distant. They acknowledged the paper. They mentioned the maneuver in a conference. But no call came. Raf didn't wait. He and his team set their sights on something outrageous, contributing to a Mars mission not as junior pilots, but as leaders of a critical piece. While big agencies wrestled with billion-dollar habitat designs and nuclear reactors, Raf focused on what everyone overlooked: supply and rescue. What happens, he asked in a global conference Q&A, when a Mars crew runs low on something essential, or needs a precise tool, or a spare part that wasn't included? Do we just say, "Sorry, see you in 2 years"? He proposed the Balangay Fleet, a fictional network of small, Filipino-designed cargo craft that could ride gravity assists and solar sails to deliver small but critical supplies to Mars orbit or surf. These outposts, named after ancient Philippine boats that connected islands centuries ago. The Balangay Fleet would be humanity's interplanetary sorry store and lifeline. Most agencies thought it was poetic but unrealistic, except one. When an international Mars mission faced a major setback, a delay in a key cargo launch threatened to push back their timeline by almost 2 years, they looked round for alternatives. Traditional rockets were booked and pricey. Political tensions made sharing launch assets tricky. Then someone on the mission planning team remembered. What about that Filipino guy? The sale thing. Emails were sent. Long video calls followed. Ralph sat in a modest office in the middle, old electric fan buzzing beside him, while a panel of stern mission planners from multiple countries grilled him on Delta-V budgets, failure points, radiation tolerance. He answered each question without arrogance, just calm clarity. His passion wasn't to show off. It was to make sure no crew stranded millions of kilometers from home would hear, "There's nothing we can do." Finally, after weeks of debate, they made a decision that shocked the old guard. They would greenlight a Balangay-class resupply craft, co-led by Raf and his Philippine team. integrated into the International Mars mission. As the project ramped up, Rav visited facilities he once only saw online. Yet, even standing in those high-tech rooms abroad, he wore a small Philippine flag pin on his collar and refused offers to relocate permanently. "If I leave Philippines," he said in one interview, "then every Filipino kid who sees me will think you must leave the Philippines to reach the stars. I want them to know you can build the stars from here." The mission was called Stars Unity, a fictional multinational effort to establish a sustainable research base on Mars. When they announced the leadership roles, the internet buzzed as one line stood out: interplanetary logistics and deep space navigation lead, Dr. Rafael Villanueva. Philippine screenshots spread everywhere. Filipinos flooded social media with disbelief and pride. NASA rejected him 3 times. Now, he's leading them to Mars, from Batangas to the red planet, Grave. Old clips of Ref's early rejections resurfaced alongside interviews with his former professors, barangay neighbors, even his father, who proudly held up a faded photo of Rav stargazing as a child. Launch day was history in the making. The Ars Unity command motto, and its heavy cargo left Earth atop a roaring pillar of flame. Months earlier, a Balangay test craft had already begun its slow, graceful journey, sail glittering in sunlight, carrying compact 3D printer feedstock, special medical supplies, and a Philippine flag patch secretly tucked into one container by Rif's team. During the 7-month journey, a minor but serious issue rose. The critical filter in the life support system degraded faster than anticipated. Replacement parts on board were limited. Without additional filtration material, the crew might face dangerous air quality issues before resupply windows opened by conventional means. On a tense call monitored by controllers worldwide, Raf and his team proposed a solution: repurpose part of the Balangay cargo, reroute its trajectory slightly, and use precious onboard fuel in ways no one had originally planned. It was risky. If calculations were off, the Balangay would miss the rendezvous entirely. "Can you guarantee success?" a mission commander asked through the link. Raf took a breath. "In space," he said, "there are no guarantees, but the math, the simulations, the sail performance we've prepared for contingencies like this. We designed Balangay to be exactly this kind of backup." There was silence. Then, "Do it, lead, copy." Executing Filipino maneuver, Raf replied, half joking, half serious. The whole world watched as the Balangay craft adjusted, its silver sail catching sunlight in a delicate dance, nudging its path toward a new intercept point. Hours turned to days as minor corrections were made. Finally, as Mars loomed large, the tiny Filipino-led craft aligned perfectly with Ars Unity's orbit. From the crew's perspective, it was surreal. A small, shining seed of Earth approaching, bearing life-saving materials, born of an idea once dismissed as impractical. Docking was successful. The crew retrieved the precious goods and materials. A minor incident never escalated into major emergency. Humanity moved one step closer to living safely on another world. Filipino-led system had made it possible. Months later, as the Ars crew sent back the first images of their makeshift Mars sari-sari store, Balangay containers repurposed as storage, and even a small makeshift chapel with a Filipino flag pile. Nailed to a wall, Raf watched from a crowded viewing hall in Manila. Around him were students, professors, sari-sari stories of families watching on their phones, and kids holding cardboard rockets they'd made themselves. A journalist leaned in with a microphone. "Dr. Villanueva, NASA once rejected you for being from a country they didn't consider competitive. How does it feel now, leading part of this Mars mission? Rav thought for a moment. Rejection hurts, he said, but it also tells you where the world thinks your limits are. Our job as Filipinos is to politely, firmly, and brilliantly prove them wrong. He smiled at the camera. They said my background was a disadvantage, but everything that made me to Filipino for their pipeline, the Bayangan spirit, the resourcefulness, the willingness to do more with less things are exactly what made Balangay possible. He turned to the crowd of kids. To every Batang Filipino watching, you don't need anyone's permission to dream as big as Mars. If they close the door, build your own shell. One day, they won't just invite you in, they'll ask you for direction. The crowd erupted in cheers. Back in Batangas, Rif's parents watched from their small house, now with a new metal roof, but the same familiar yard. His mother wiped her eyes. Sabi ko sa'yo, Anak, she whispered, looking up at the bright, familiar sky. The stars don't have views, and somewhere between those stars and the red dust of Mars, a tiny craft named Balangay sailed silently on sunlight, carrying not just equipment, but the proof that a Filipino from a non-competitive country could help lead humanity into a new era. If this story inspired you, hit like, share this with someone who's been told Hindi mo kaya, and subscribe for more stories that show the unstoppable power of the Filipino spirit. Mabuhay ang Pilipinas. Mabuhay ang Gapangrap na Hindi Sumuko.